This week was my first week of classes, so I'm a little bouncing off the walls everywhere, balancing, classes, podcasts. I started recording a new YouTube video this week. I know our guest today just recently moved in, right? Have you started classes yet?
Oh yeah, I just started classes this week. It's my third day of classes. So yeah, we started this week.
Sweet. Brandon, you haven't started yet, or have you?
Yeah. We started this week, and classes went pretty well, like all my professors. So it's cool to get back into the rhythm, and see some friends and classmates again. But yeah, ready to start grinding.
Yep. Here at Eminem, we're always supporting the post-secondary education. Can't get caught up in the money, but the money's nice too. Welcome back to another episode of Sneak Speak. Today is August 26th. This is episode 10. This is actually going to be the season finale. We're going to take a short break and then jump right back into season 2 with some big heat. We got some big plans. Me and Mason have been talking about it a little bit, and we're going to get the rest of the team on board soon, and we're excited for what's to come then. I have promised, and I have not forgotten about a theme song or some kind of intro. And that will definitely, we're going to be working on that too. That would be amazing. Today, it's your boy Mateo. I'm here with Brandon. Brandon, say what's up.
Hey, what's up, guys? Good to see you guys again.
And with us today, we have the man, the myth, the legend behind 765 Hype God, Nick. Nick, say what's up.
What's up, guys? It's Nick here. I'm 765 Hype God.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm from a small town in rural Indiana, about 60 minutes from Indianapolis and about 60 minutes from Cincinnati, give or take. I really got into sneakers in about 2015. Obviously, I had sneakers before then, but I feel like resale had a moment, reselling had a moment where it just blew up out of proportion in 2016. And what really got my attention was two things. It was Benjamin Kicks. I read an article about him, how he made $1 million in like 1 year at the age of 16. And I saw like him doing that. I was literally at school reading that article, and I was like, dang, if he can do that, like, I don't know if I can reach anywhere near that height, but I can obviously make some money off of this. As well as I was a really, really big fan of Kanye West, and his shoes were going like reselling out of proportion at the time. Like they're still doing crazy well in the resale market. But I saw that and I wanted to get in. So ever since then, I've really been keeping myself up to date with like the sneaker culture, streetwear culture, everything that's popping, the hype around things. And then honestly, like some things that aren't hype but are I feel like are cool, I keep up with and like try and get for myself. So that's kind of a little bit about me.
Nice. And tell everyone where you go to school.
I go to school at Purdue University. I'm a sophomore here, and my major is agribusiness with a minor in communications.
Sweet. And for everybody at home, you want to tell them exactly what agribusiness is?
So, yeah, I get this question a lot actually. Agribusiness is literally, well, yeah, and literally it is a business degree, but more ag based. And I don't know if I mentioned this beforehand, but I grew up on a farm, so it's kind of I feel like it suits me well. I'm not saying a business degree wouldn't, but I've been able to get a lot of the good opportunities to come my way, and I feel like this is the best major for me at the end of the day.
It's nice. It's good to hear. Great to hear. It's interesting that like you say you're from a rural background, and we don't really get a lot of sneakerheads from those rural backgrounds. Like, how was that for you? Like once you started getting into sneakers.
It's kind of tough to be honest because I can't really sell anywhere around me. I'm guessing the closest place I can sell at is about 45 minutes away. And that's where the closest mall is at to me, 45, 50 minutes. I know one reseller from that area. I haven't done any business with him, but I've talked to him some, I believe, in the past, like earlier this year. And really, the only way what I always try and do is I try and meet people from my state most and like build connections with them, like network with them. And
Mm-hmm.
like since there's no one around me, that's why I try and go to a lot of festivals in Indianapolis or in Indiana to try and meet people because like there's literally no one around me. Like I had to drive about 20 minutes to get to the closest town near me. So
Yeah.
Well, now that you're on this podcast, you're gonna make even more connections throughout the United States, huh?
Yeah.
yeah, I mean I'm blessed with this opportunity to be on here. So
Yeah. I mean, we love having you here. We love having people from out of state. We're trying to get more people from out of state. We got a pretty long list recently, but we're favoring the people from out of state because we want to make those connections as well. Today, some pretty interesting topics that we want to dive into. We've already talked about the Kobe market in the past. We've talked about the revenge store market in the past, but I wanted to give Nick a chance to give his take on that real quick. A couple other debates, like what goes on in the DMs, something that I personally have a slight problem with. Actually, a couple of those, and then we've talked about the rise of bots, but we haven't really gone into like what we prefer, and a lot of people prefer different modes of getting sneakers or streetwear, anything collectible. There's a lot of different methods to that, and a lot of people have different opinions on that. And then, as always, sleepers and good investments. We have a lot of those this week. We'll see how many we get to. The sleepers are definitely sleepers, and the good investments are definitely questionable, to say the least, except for one. But we'll get there when we get there if we can. Let's kick it off with Kobe and Revenge Storms. Let's start with the Revenge Storms. Nick, you listened to the podcast about the Revenge Storms, and what did you have to say about those?
yeah, well, the Revenge Storms are I don't know, a questionable shoe for me. I honestly don't think they are a bad shoe, but the market has always been really crazy because I remember before, like about a year ago, I'd see pairs that are sold near prices today, which I see them still going for about uh 150, 160 depending on the pair. And then I'd see some that were going for like $100 more than that, so about like 260, 270. And it's just really crazy how fluctuated the market was. And I really saw it going downhill before anyone ever really said anything because I kept seeing these Revenge Storm plugs, like their info being sold around. And I was like, that looks really sketchy that you're just selling out plugs like crazy. And they weren't that expensive too. Like I even debated, and I'm glad I didn't because I feel like it would have been a waste of money. um there was a kid I knew from Indy. I was in an Indiana like Discord group chat. He was going to sell a plug for like $500, and I was like, "Whoa, like, why are you doing this?" I didn't say that, but I just thought to myself, I was like, "That kind of sounds good," because they're still doing all right. Like there is still like a demand for it, but it's slowly going downhill like crazy. I remember I've actually sold some pairs last December. I was selling pairs, and um I was getting them for probably about 110, 120, and I was selling them anywhere from 190 to like 220, to be honest. So I was making some decent money off it, and I knew there was demand. I was thinking long term about, oh, if I build up my capital, invest in more pairs, like I could be bringing in so and so per month. But I've slowly been seeing it go downhill, and I think the people who can supply the revenge storms kind of knew what that like they were selling fake ones, but their whole idea was behind it was okay, these are fake, but they're like the realest that you can get on the market,
Yeah.
and if no one else like is selling them, then we have control of the market. I literally saw a dude say that once, and he was basically trying to I feel like he was trying to get people to buy more to sell more, even though they were fake. And I don't know. I don't really condone selling fakes. I had a I actually sold two Revenge Storms earlier this year, and the dude told me they were fake, and I had no idea. So I reimbursed him like a full refund, and I apologized for it, and we settled it. Like I feel like as most professionally as you can, and that I don't sell them anymore, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I give it about 6 months and the market will be dead for it. But I still see them selling like crazy. I mean, there's some guys on Instagram I've seen make full on they basically transformed their selling account into solely selling Revenge Storms, and there's people who sell them for bulks. I could probably name about 5 people if you
Yeah.
gave me about 20 minutes who sell them as bulk, and there's still a demand for it. I see them selling about every other day. Like, damn, like those are still selling. But I mean, it it is what it is. I think it was a fire shoe. I think it is still is a fire shoe, but it's sad that like Ian doesn't have any say on it anymore because it kind of is like you're buying a fake shoe at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's so hard to find the real ones at this point.
Yeah.
It's like probably near impossible. Brandon, I know you weren't on that episode where we talked about it. Do you have anything to say on that?
Well, I did have one thing to say about going back to the fakes, and I think that's awesome how you owned up to your mistake there and stayed professional.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
It's really important. I think there's so many people out here who are trying to scam you or just take advantage of you, and it's quite frankly it's not okay. I don't think that's indicative of what a good business should be, and props to you for doing that. Great job to you.
I appreciate it.
Agreed.
I'll always do, like, if there's any type of flaw or some reason, I always tell myself that, like, you gotta reimburse or refund because at the end of the day, your reputation's on the line, and like what you do, like how you sell, you represent yourself every step of the way. So you just want to represent yourself as best as possible, I feel like, at the end of the day. So that's why I made the decision I did.
Yeah.
In that situation.
Yep.
Mateo,
I would agree.
I love this guy. He has great values, man.
He's going on our close friends list. He's going on our close friends list, the Eminem
Exactly.
close friends list for sure.
I think if you have a good insight in life, you'll go really far with that. So that speaks a lot to your character.
Yeah, no matter what industry you end up in, that's a great mindset. The customer first mindset and protecting your business for the greater good, like looking to the future. It's mandatory almost.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Another thing that we had talked about before, me and Brandon were on that episode that I wanted to bring up very briefly to be able to give Nick his opinion. And also, we had recently done a live stream panel on this on our Instagram, and I'm thinking of making a YouTube video about it where I just kind of talk about it because it's kind of upsetting. Some of it's upsetting. Other sides of it are like kind of understandable. I'm talking about the Kobe situation. There's been an update since the last time we did this. This was 5 episodes ago, so almost 2 months ago when we last talked about it. Recently, like I said, today is August 26th. It is a Tuesday, right? I don't know. Tuesday, Wednesday. It's a Tuesday. No, it's a Wednesday.
I think it's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday. It is Wednesday, my dude.
Time flies, man.
But Sunday and Monday, Nike had decided to release the first Kobe branded anything. Actually, wait, no, that's false. They released the Mamba Furies, which is like the budget model Kobe's, a while ago. But this is like the first time they've released anything of the Kobe, like the main Kobe line. They released a pair of Kobe 5 Pro Tros on Sunday, a pair of Kobe 5 Pro Tros on Monday, and then alongside a double numbered jersey, meaning they had the 8 on the front and 24 on the back, the City Edition snakeskin jersey. Anyways, people are going crazy about this because now we're like re-entering the whole like, should we resell it, should we not? But basically these two shoes are already like skyrocketed in price like before they had even released. And I've said this about shoes. My opinion on the shoes doesn't really change much from that old episode. But what I'm pissed off at is that they're reselling the jersey. The jersey goes for like the lowest I've seen it was like $600, and that was still low. The average is like $800, and it only retailed at $120. The reason I'm mad about the reselling the jersey and not so much the shoes is that we were reselling shoes before. We were reselling Nike shoes, basketball shoes, and Kobe shoes. Everybody was reselling them before he passed away. Absolutely nobody, except for like jersey plugs, but no like normal person was reselling jerseys of any player, alive or deceased, GOAT or not GOAT, like bench player, starter, it doesn't matter. We weren't reselling jerseys. And all of a sudden, now it's very obvious why we're reselling this jersey. And of course we all know the reason. But to me, that is hundreds of times more immoral than reselling the shoe, because it's a completely different item that we're trying to use to honor him with, and people are just taking advantage of it. That's my opinion. I don't want to say too much more, but that's me.
I thought you had some really good takes, to be honest. With the shoe, I definitely think that the reselling of Kobe shoes will definitely only go up. Not talking from a like basketball perspective, but from a shoes perspective, I feel like the Kobe shoes are almost insignificant as in like value as the Jordans now, especially since he has passed away. RP Kobe. But with the jersey, it's really hard for me to say honestly my take on it because I gotta be honest with you, I totally forgot about the drop of the jersey. I knew about the shoes and I missed out on that. But it kind of sucks that they're reselling a jersey, but as long as there is so much of a supply, and you already know there's going to be a crazy demand because it's Kobe Bryant. Plus, like the jersey itself looks really good. It's a clean
Mm-hmm.
colorway. It has two numbers on it, which I mean you don't really see, and some people can say, "Oh, that's kind of whack." But like from a personal perspective, I feel like it's really cool. And I saw that it dropped and everything, and I was obviously late. But one of my homies was checking it out and he's like, dude, this is so sick. And then I told him, I was like, yeah, but then I mentioned the resale price. And he's like, man, there's no way I'll spend like that much money on that.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because like there's some true Kobe fans. I know there's some people who are bigger fans than me. Kobe Bryant's one of the basketball players who got me into basketball, but I know there's some bigger fans than I am. And they won't even get that jersey just because the resale is insane. But it's really about there is a low supply and there's already a crazy high demand, so
Mm-hmm.
it's not like people are not going to resell. Nike can advise against it. I don't know if they did by any means,
Nah, probably not.
but I mean that's just the business that happens at the end of the day. I feel like just because, especially they slap limited edition on it, I saw,
Mm-hmm.
and when that happens, you're destined to get it to go high.
Yeah, honestly, I want to echo what Bomber said on episode 5. We got to blame capitalism, right? Supply and demand.
Yeah.
But no, man, like I completely understand both sides of it. I'm definitely not the biggest Kobe fan. But I respect, if you want to, if you don't want to resell it, right? Because you don't think it's right. But on the other hand, I understand from the reseller's point of view, right? Like, eventually time goes on and it is somewhat of a way to honor him as well. I think one thing that we have to put into perspective here is I'm very, very sure that Nike probably reached out to Vanessa Bryant and asked her if this is all okay. I don't
agree.
think that they would have disrespected her
Yeah.
in that way. And I think that by them doing this probably means that she said, yes, it's okay. So, I just want to put that out there because I'm not sure if that's being talked about. But again, I really see both sides of you, and it's a hot debate. I'm not sure we'll ever really get settled, right?
Yeah.
We'll just have to see.
I want to bring up like the point, just an idea. Like people have been talking about, what if Jordan dies? We're not really gonna. It's a different situation. There's a lot more Jordans, but like we're not really gonna be expected to just not sell Jordans anymore, right? I hope that the prices will be inflated, but the prices being inflated by the buyer's market in comparison to a seller's market is completely different. If a seller changes the price and increases it by $600 versus buyers just buying, and it naturally goes up $600, that's different. That's demand versus you just changing the price of the supply. It's two different things. The supply, changing the price of the supply to me is not okay. Also, that jersey, regardless if he was alive or passed away or not, I still think it would resell, just not for $1,000. I could see like 200 maybe, because I have said for years, like growing up as a Lakers fan, I had always wanted a t-shirt or a jersey that had 8 in the front, 24 on the back. That was something that was like, would have been super sick to me. When he retired and he had that last game, I bought the t-shirt. I have it right next to me. The 8 on the front, 24 on the back. Brandon loves when I wear that t-shirt. I know he loves that t-shirt. I could see the jersey reselling because it's such a unique opportunity. Like, to have Michael Jordan wear a 23 on the front, 45 on the back doesn't really have the same effect. He only wore 45 for like 2 games. He wasn't really significant in both numbers. Both of those games were like terrible games. You know what I mean? But Kobe Bryant's in a unique position to have 2 different numbers that he performed very well in. So for that reason, I can see it reselling. but not for 10 times, not for 1,000% return on investment. That's too insane. But if you're a seller, what other thing in your life do you have the opportunity to get at 1,000% return on investment? You know what I mean? Like, for every argument that you have for this debate, there's an exact opposite counter argument. You know what I mean?
You're completely right, to be honest.
And it gets me like so excited but so heated at the same time. It's the exact same thing. I don't know how to feel about this.
It's insane, honestly, like how much it is. Like, I can understand if it's maybe like 2 times.
Yeah.
Or even 3 times is pushing it, but I can understand like it being like that. But it's almost 4 times what the retail was. I think retail was like $180. I could be wrong, but
On the shoes,
I think it was somewhere in. Oh yeah, what was it on the jersey?
the jersey is a 120.
Oh, 120.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, like it's insane, like the prices that it's reaching at this point, to be honest.
Yeah. And on the topic of the prices and highballing and all that stuff, the other side of that, the buyer's side, this is something that I hate when people come into my DMs. I don't know if this is the same for Nick, but if I have a price on an item, let's just say I have shoes up for $250. Somebody will come into my DMs and ask me about the shoes and say, my least favorite 3 words. Ready? What's your lowest? No, that triggers me. I have a highlight in my bio, in my policies highlight, and it explains why I do not like that question of what's your lowest. Actually, I took a poll on this, and 25%, it was like pretty exact, 25% said that asking what's your lowest is okay. 75% agreed with me, and I'm going to read what my policy statement says, and then I can let you respond because it's basically all I have to say on it. I just hate it so much, and people continue to do it. I said, please don't ever ask what's your lowest. I said, in my eyes, it's disrespectful and lazy. Why would I go straight down to my lowest price? If a price is listed, it means I believe I can sell it for that price. Obviously, most of the items are negotiable, so talk to me and let's work. I know it's usually not the intent to be disrespectful, but that's just how it comes across. And that's how I see it every single time. Because I know people mean well and they still send it and they just want to be efficient and just get the lowest price and like, just let's go. Like, let's just make a deal already. But to me, it's not wasting time if I'm spending some of that time to get both of us a good deal. Like, it's not efficient for me to go down to my lowest price, right? So we have to both sacrifice a little bit. That's how I see it. I don't know how Nick feels about it.
I haven't been put in that situation too many times. I think a couple times, but not recently. But I really think that the seller has more of a say than the actual buyer. Not saying the buyer doesn't have a say, but for an example, like I try and factor in pricing beforehand and sell for or list for a reasonable price. I always include shipping just because I don't want to factor that in after I hand them like how much I'd like to offer it for. And if they want to lowball it even more, it's kind of a dagger, to be honest. Um the only reason that I could see the lowball is if you really need money, but I've never really been in that situation, I feel like. So usually I don't really go for people asking like how low would you go or anything like that. But that's just me.
One thing I wanted to say to our listeners is I'm not just saying this just because I'm a part of M&M or I'm a friend of Mateo's, but Mateo is extremely fair with all his offers. He really does look out for both sides. He's looking out to the buyer and himself as well. So I think that's one of the great things about M&M. I think we have great customer service, and I think just to respect Mateo as well, if you are the buyer, please just give us your fair offers. Do what's best for everyone, and that's just kind of our mentality and mindset on it.
And I know a lot of people say like there's a different like definition of fair. Everybody has a different definition of fair because we look at market in different ways. And I've said this before, and I'll just remind everyone again. Just to use StockX as an example, there's a lowest ask and there's a highest bid. If you buy or sell on that platform, you're going to have to pay fees either way. Some people like to incorporate those fees into what they consider market price. So instead of having the highest bid at 200 and 250, the market price is really between 280 when you add the fees from 250, or 180 when you deduct the fees from 200. And so now the market is twice as big as it actually is. That's up to somebody's opinion. I think, in my opinion, as like, I agree with that kind of, but I'm never gonna ask. My price is never gonna be higher than you can buy anywhere online. If it's higher, like let's just say it adds up to 280 and Go adds up to 260, the highest that you're gonna find it, or the lowest that you're gonna be able to get it on the market is 260. I'm not even gonna ask more than 260. I just won't even list it. I'll just wait, unless like you really want it. But that's how I think of it as fair. Is like I won't even, if it's like, if I want more money than what it's worth, I'm not even gonna ask. And for the same reason, if I wanted my lowest price, I would have just listed it at my lowest price. Why didn't I just lower the price so it can sell faster? Because I want to maximize my profits. Who doesn't want to maximize their profits? And then people are going to say, well, if you want to maximize your profits, then just tax super high, like just charge super high. Well, then it's not going to sell. You have to meet somebody in the middle. And like I said, there's a range. That's the range where we can negotiate based on each other's circumstances. How far are you away from me? Can we meet up? Does it cost extra to ship? I know Nick says he incorporates shipping into his prices, but there's a lot of reasons for negotiation. I don't want to just drop straight to my lowest. Like, negotiating is one of the beauties of this entire platform and community that we are in. Asking what's your lowest just doesn't really do it for me.
Absolutely. I think that's very well said, Mateo.
Thank you.
I think you gave some really good takes, and like you expressed your reasoning behind like your opinion really well. To be honest, I agree with you for the most part. Like, I don't think it's a mean thing to do by any means, but usually, like, you have a set price in mind. If those people go out and check the market and like maybe your price is a little bit higher than, I guess, the normal shoe, especially if it's a used shoe. If it's a used shoe, I feel like it could be a different story. But if it's a new shoe, then you almost have total control based on the market, I feel like. But yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah.
And I think you worded it really well.
Thanks. I've had a lot of time to think about this. This has been going on for me for a while. Another just like small thing is like, I always expect this. Some people just don't even think that we realize this is going on. We know this is going on. Some people will ask for my lowest, and I say my lowest is 240, and then they'd be like, you can't do 220. It's like, no, you asked for my lowest. I gave you my lowest. I'm not going to go any lower. That was the whole point of you asking for my lowest. And now you're just going to try to keep going more. The same way on OfferUp, people go like, we agree on 250, and they show up to the meetup and they've only brought 230 in cash. And they're like, oh, don't let me leave without like let's make a deal before I leave. I can't go home with nothing. I was like, well, you should have came prepared with the extra $20. I'm literally going to leave, make it look like a fool. Like, you're not making me look like a fool. We had agreed on a number. It's like the whole, like, just keep it honest. Just like if you don't want to fork up the $20, sometimes I just feel like if you don't want to fork up the $20, if you actually don't have the $20, maybe you shouldn't be spending all of your money on a pair of shoes.
Sometimes I feel like people think, or after hearing you give some of those examples of your own experiences, I feel like people think that, oh, he's just a dude who sells online. Like, he's okay with selling it for a little bit under what I could get it on StockX or Goat, and like everything will go smooth. No, like, we have our own business at the end of the day. We're just people who have it in person instead of an actual business who we could sell to. You're just getting it from an actual person, and they have that mindset. I'm not saying everyone does by any means, but those people who are in your DMs asking you, hey, can you go a little bit lower? Like, they just have that mindset that, like, oh, since he's just a dude who sells online, I can get it for a little bit cheaper than what I can on StockX and Go. And at the end of the day, it's just not like that. I mean, some people will pick up the memo, some people may not, and you're going to have to either reject their DM or just be like, no. But yeah, I mean, that's how I see it at the end of the day. So
yeah, I mean, when you shop through individuals and not through online retailers or resell marketplaces like StockX, Go, SneakerCon, like, you will get better prices through us, but not like, I mean, sometimes, I mean, we see it all the time. There's people that throw steals like under payout, and like, it's cool when they do that. Like, cool, we get to take advantage of it, but we're not here to plug everybody for retail. Then there would be no point of us doing anything. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, we get the occasions where we find stuff for under retail, so let's just do it for under payout. We make good money, you get a good deal, and we move on. But it's not always like that. It's very hard to find those deals, so let's have both of us do a fair deal, and that's what the majority of like our sales are whether we're buying or selling. Like, this is just how it is when you're an individual and you don't have a huge reputation. That's what you got to do. You got to beat the market a little bit because of the lack of reputation that you have. You know what I mean? Like, we may have 200 reviews, you may have 600 reviews. That's nowhere near what StockX has. StockX has thousands, tens of thousands of reviews. You know what I mean? So that's what you are getting into when you are shopping with quote unquote unofficial small businesses. But yeah, I want to talk about this because Brandon sent me a post. Brandon, remember when you sent me that post about the, people's opinions on camping or like the sneakers app?
Oh yeah.
Do you want to talk about that and sacrifice a couple sneakers, or you just want to talk about sneakers?
I think it's ultimately up to Nick. He's our guest today, but I would be interested in talking about the camping thing. I think that's kind of fun to talk about.
True.
I mean, like I told you guys, I don't know if you know anything about Indiana, but it's a lot of cornfields, and Indianapolis is the big spot where everything's at. I go there about every other weekend or every weekend now. But I've never really camped out or anything like that. I think it's the coolest thing though, since I've never been able to. So I can give my takes on about all three of those things, to be honest.
Let's so let's do that. Let's do that, and we'll hit the shoes in a second.
Because your perspective is really valuable, I think.
Yes.
Okay.
I think Brandon has a unique perspective also.
I'm gonna love talking about this one.
Brandon had sent me this post. I think it was definitely Bleacher Report. I want to say it was Bleacher Report Kicks. They have a podcast. I didn't listen to it. I just watched the Instagram post. But they were talking about the sneakers app versus like the old-fashioned way of camping out. And we've talked about this before with West Coast cores, obviously. Botting is a huge thing. We're talking about the uprising of bots and everything. But people have their own opinions on what's the best way to cop sneakers, whether that's the most efficient way or their personal favorite way for whatever reasons. I know I have mine. So between manual, botting, and camping, those are the three main ways to get your sneakers right now. So let me just briefly explain them. So manual means that you're getting the shoes on drop day on whatever websites they're dropping for, and you're just using your thumbs and your mouse to do everything on the computer and just check out like normal, like you would on any other site. The only thing is that you're racing against the clock, you're racing against everybody else. It's a big panic, right? Botting is you get a program, some kind of software on your computer that does all of that for you. The thing is, you have to set up everything in advance so that it knows what card to use, what item to go for, and the advancement of technology basically does everything on its own, and you just sit back. Like, once the drop time comes, you just sit back and wait for the confirmation emails to roll in. So the difference between those is like it's a big hassle before the drop in botting, and it's a big hassle during the drop going manual. The old-fashioned way, before any drops online occurred, is camping. Stores like Foot Locker or Nike retailers or any storefront will announce that they are getting a certain shoe and that the store opens at that time. So you can just bring a lawn chair, sleeping bags, whatever you want, and go sit outside that store and wait till the doors open. You can wait there as long as you want. Some stores say you can't line up earlier than 12 a.m. I've heard stories of people sitting outside for a week to get a pair of shoes. Why would anyone do this? Because with manual or botting, there really isn't a guarantee. If you're first in line, it doesn't matter how long you are waiting in that line. But if you're first in line, you're guaranteed a pair and you're guaranteed whatever size you want, and there's no hassle. The only thing is you have to waste a lot of time sitting in that line. So, with that being said, what are your guys' favorite way to cop sneakers? Like, your personal favorite?
So my personal favorite way to cop sneakers, or I guess streetwear,
Yes,
anything that's
anything.
in anything that's in demand,
Yes.
is manual, just because it almost feels like you're defying the odds, because bots usually are getting better and better at hitting drops and stuff. And if you hit manual, that's almost, in my opinion, that's kind of a flex, just because it's gotten harder and harder every year. And I remember, I was in class at school one day. I was in it was a video productions class, or it was some class where I was about to go on TV. Like we did a little segment where we did like the weather, school news, all that good stuff. And about like 20 minutes before we are about to go on, like on live, or we're about to film, I hit the Supreme drop, and like the most popular thing selling that week was a director's chair, and I hit that, and I was like ecstatic. There was only one kid in the classroom who really like cared by any means about
Yeah.
Supreme. Everyone knew what it was. They weren't really someone
Aware.
who would even consider buying it. They just knew,
Yeah.
they knew what Supreme was.
Mhm.
They kind of had seen it before in the news, or on like a celebrity or an influencer who was wearing it or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just the feeling of that is a reason why I feel like manual is my favorite option to go. But just because I say that, I'd like to give a take on botting as well as camping, if that's all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
With botting, I think that it's not a negative thing to bot. I know some people really don't like people who bot, just because it takes away from people who go for manual. And I mean, at the end of the day, botters do have the upper hand, but that just makes it even more sweeter if you go manual and you do hit, because you're beating out a bot. But like for me, I've looked into botting some, and I've tried it out here and there, just because I live in the middle of nowhere. I cannot stress that enough. The closest Foot Locker to me is about 45, 50 minutes away. So even if I were to camp out for a hyped up release, and I think a lot of the hyped up releases are either on the northern side of Indy, which is like another 30 minutes away. So that'd be about a 90-minute drive, almost 80, 90-minute drive. And honestly, doing that, I have never really done. So bonding is the other option. I've tried it out some this summer, and I was able to I hit about 5 of the Air Jordan hairs. There was another shoe. I got like 6 other pairs. I think it was the Flints. Yeah, the Flints. I got like 6 pairs of those.
That was a good one.
And I mean, there's pros and cons to botting, but I think that if you're in the city, you should, and you have time, you should camp, or try and get in line to get some shoes, because I mean, there's opportunity there to either get you whatever piece is selling, or even to make some money off it. But if you live out, I guess, in an area not near the city, or I guess if you're really good at botting, that could be good for you too. But I'd like to say, if you live out somewhere where I'm at, where you're not near a foot site where it's usually selling the shoe that is in demand, then botting is the move, honestly, because you want to stay up with the business that's selling. So
Mhm.
if it's the move, and put yourself in the best position to be able to get the products you want to sell, and by doing that, you got a bot. So
I know you said you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, and it's like interesting for me because I live not necessarily in the middle of nowhere. I live like 30 minutes south of San Jose, and like 45 minutes away, or like maybe 40 minutes away from the closest mall that has relevant sneaker drops. But like we have the outlet, so like I do like outlet camping, which is like the same thing, but it's like a weird idea to like, go camping for bricks, which is, I mean, that's what me and Brandon have gone camping at the mall. And because of that, I know exactly what he's going to say, and I'm going to let him say it right now.
Yeah, honestly, I think both manual and camping are good methods, because if you go manual, you don't have to mess with the hassle of waking up early, going to that location, right? It's pretty easy. All you have to do is wake up. In terms of botting, I have nothing to say on it. I just don't have any experience with it, but I definitely love camping out so much. I am definitely not a morning person, but the experience is definitely worth it. And I haven't gone to very many. I think I've maybe only been about 3 or 4 in my entire life. But those are some of the best memories because, especially if they're personals, right? I mean, you stand in line, you wait for that long, and you finally go in
Yeah.
the store, you receive the shoe. I mean, it's just a great moment. And in addition to that, you can meet people who are in line. I mean, what's not to love about meeting new people, right? So,
That's what I
every
said is my favorite part before, is meeting people.
right. Every summer, in August, I always get the Snapchat memories, uh, and that's when Mateo and we went to get the Lucky Charms and the SpongeBob Kyrie's, right? Like my favorite kicks, and it brings up, it just makes me really happy. It brings up some great memories, and I just think there's so much sentiment to it, and it's about the experience. And it's definitely, it's not as popular as what it once was, right? Because obviously, there's new methods with manual, but that's just my opinion. That's what I love.
Yeah, I'm not gonna take back my response on saying that manual was a better way to go, but I think that you touched on that very well.
Thank you.
When I was listening to you talk about that, the networking aspect of it, I feel like since you're in line, you're obviously going to be there for a while, for a long time, most likely. So it's a great opportunity to network with people, whether they are a buyer or seller. And at the end of the day, you're making some good memories, whether you get one pair, multiple pairs, meeting people. I don't really see how anything can go bad with camping, and I think it's a great thing to do. And I honestly want to do it sometime. Like I said, I'm not near the city, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey man, if you ever come out to the Bay, we'll take you one time.
Yeah, for sure. We'll go for a brick drop
good.
just so you can just get the experience. if there's nothing hype, we'll go for bricks. But I mean, like, me personally, like, we go camping. I don't go camping all the time, but every single time I go camping, I don't leave without a connection. Even if I don't maybe get their contact, I've definitely learned something and talked to them. West Coast Chords, for example, when we talked about the bots, I met them during camping. You make like really good relationships just because you're stuck there for hours. So
I have seen people who I mentioned earlier I go to Purdue University, and I'm not saying it's close by any means, but Chicago, I feel like personally isn't too far from my university. So if there's a really hyped up drop, and Chicago is a bigger place, so obviously there's going to be some in-store drops happening. If I can somehow either, I don't know, sometimes you gotta be in a certain location. I know for
yeah,
Nike to like accept you into some like raffles or anything like that, I could spoof my location or just put myself in the position to get them in Chicago or a place where they are dropping. I by any means would do that, but I haven't tried that out yet. I have some homies up there, and I'm gonna try and look into doing that soon because I mean not much drops around here. It's indie, by the way, but um, you gotta make do, or you gotta try and get it by means necessary is how I see it. So
yeah.
hopefully I can do something like that.
Well, Nick, I don't know if you know this, but I do go to Loyola Chicago.
Yeah.
So, if you ever come to Chicago, it would be pretty fun. I think, well, it's definitely different camping out over there compared to here, right? I mean, you're probably way better at handling the cold weather than I am, but I think that
Yeah.
adds to the experience even more if we're waiting outside, right? So,
Yeah.
if you're ever in Chi-Town, hit me up.
Yeah, but I remember like what you just mentioned about cold weather. I used to run cross country, and we would like wear shorts and run in t-shirts when it was like about 10 degrees outside, and like I'm from the Midwest, so I can handle this weather. About -10 is where it gets really bad. I'm like, I
Jesus
don't want to
Christ.
go out, but that's about it.
Bro, it's so funny because like when we would run cross country, like when we say cold, it doesn't really get that cold like in California. But if we did like
Yeah.
morning runs and it would hit like 45 degrees or something, like a couple guys would break out their gloves, including me sometimes, and then I would just be running and thinking like, we're such like babies. We're such babies. And we had to like make this rule on the team like, okay, if it's not colder than 40, you can't wear gloves. Like don't be just run. Just if you're really cold, just keep rubbing your hands while you run for like the first mile and just get over it.
I'll tell you what, one of my best friends, he used to run collegiate cross country, And I remember he was actually telling me this a couple weeks ago how they went on a run one morning, and it was literally, it was either 10 degrees out or less. I know it was extremely cold. And he came back from that run, his like eyebrows were frozen, his eyes were like frozen. And they like, it was collegiate, so they were running, I think it was at least more than 5 miles. I want to say 10, but that may be a stretch. It was where
10
between
doesn't
5 to
seem
10
too
miles
crazy.
in the morning.
Yeah.
And that's just crazy to me. I mean, he's one of the strongest people I know, but that was just him telling me about that run was intense. I could never do it, to be honest.
Well, Nick, whenever our guests bring up cross country or track, we get super excited because that's what we did in high school. And it's incredible what you guys are doing, or did like that. That's super tough. And I know that when I ran with my best friend in Chicago, it was about November time. Okay, it was probably 20 degrees, 8 a.m. in the morning. It was so hard, man. I mean, the difference between that and over here, it's insane. So after that time, I was like, you know what, Lucas, I'm done, bro. I'm transitioning to basketball. I can't do this anymore. We'll run again in April when it's nice and warm. So yeah, good for you.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen those videos of like lane 1 on the track shoveled out and everything else is covered in snow, and you have like a little like 1.5-foot wall of snow on the inside of the track and in lane 2 and running and people doing workouts. I think that looks super sick, but I cannot imagine like how cold they must be. And like I want to try it, but I'm not like, I love the cold, but not that cold. Like I like it when it's like 30 to 40, but it looks
I believe
beautiful.
my coach told me that he ran meet once. I believe it was the sectional or conference meet, and literally it was snowing plus it was a mixture of like the visibility in front of where you were running at was slim, so like the visibility was low that day. They still were able to have the race, but
I've never
it
even thought
was,
about that. That's so funny.
yeah, he said it was the most intense race that he ever ran, and he ran like all throughout college and everything.
Yeah.
So
Dang. To get a little bit more back on the topic of sneakers, ironically, we're going to talk about something that's the complete opposite of running and athleticism and working hard, which is funny when we're talking about Nike. But we are now entering the zone of sleepers for anybody keeping along with our timeline here. In 2 days, I believe, Nike is releasing something called the Offline, which is like a moccasin slipper kind of thing. And I'm reading this article on Sneaker News, and it says Nike's latest innovation, dubbed the Offline, pivots far and away from performance to tend to one's mental health. The title of this like kind of refers to this as an anti-sneaker, and it says it's meant for doing nothing, which I think this is like, it's taking the term casual shoe to a whole nother level. Like this is meant to be a house shoe. And what I think is amazing is that they're reselling for like a decent amount. It's kind of hard to tell though. Like there's not really many sales. The retail on these is $120. They come in a black colorway and a gray colorway, and both of them have like hits of aqua in them. I don't really know how to describe it other than it looks like UGG slippers, but not so much of that fuzz on the inside, but it's like got that shape to it. But like the asks on these things are like $300, $400, maybe even $500. Like the bids are not that high, but the fact, like, I don't even know what to think. Like this is just kind of a weird, interesting shoe. I'm really debating going for them or not. I don't know what you guys think about them.
I would have no idea that they would be going for $300 if you did not just tell me. They do look ungodly uncomfortable, to be honest.
I think they look pretty comfortable.
And like I would honestly, if the resale was maybe like $100 less than that, I would probably buy me a pair. I'm kind of shocked that there's resale on them because they look like a pretty basic shoe that Nike would either restock a decent amount of time, or there'd be a larger supply for them to where there wouldn't be much resale at all. But they look like a great shoe, and I mean, there's a demand for them because they're something new. They're something you don't see very often, and people, word of mouth will get around that they're very comfortable. So I'm not exactly too shocked that the resale is the way that it is, but it's also at the same time kind of shocking. It just kind of sucks because they look like a very comfortable shoe. But
Yeah, the term resale has to be used loosely here because the differential between bids and asks are very, very vast. So maybe there's just not a big supply in the pre-market, or a lot of people are wearing them. They don't even want to sell them. Either way, if you're wondering whether or not to buy these, I would say maybe go for one or two if you're comfortable, if you have enough money, and just be ready to return if you need to. But if for some reason these are limited, or if for some reason like the buyers are waiting for this to drop before they start placing higher bids, you can make some good money on these. It's just a uncharted territory kind of.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I don't know anything about the shoe, right? But straight up, this is why I love Nike. I mean, they're always innovating. They're always so creative and unique with every product that they come out. And that's how they stay ahead, right? That's their competitive advantage. There's so many talented artists over there, and it just adds even more hype to the culture that we have nowadays. So I love Nike.
Yeah, I've been talking to Brandon about this too. Like, we were talking about like when is the Nike hype gonna stop, or like when is the Jordan hype? Like, we were just having like just kind of a pointless conversation.
Oh, that's not pointless, man.
well, it just seemed like endless. Like, who asked that question? You know what I mean? Like, we were basically asking like, okay, so when is Nike gonna die out? Like, when is one of the that's like saying when is Apple gonna stop making iPhones? Like, but what we were saying is like Nike is tackling a lot of areas that are not athletic. They're starting to hit a wall. Not saying that like they're running out of creativity. You're just running out of things to cater to. Like, before they weren't doing anything cycling. Now you're doing cycling. There's not like unlimited amount of sports in the world. You know what I mean? But then they made a shoe. There's walking shoes and there's running shoes. They made a shoe for joggers. The Cruiser One is made for joggers. You have shoes, the auto lacing shoes that are made for people who they're physically not able to tie their shoes. Now we're hitting people. This is a lounge chair. Not a lounge chair. This is a lounge shoe. And it's meant to walk around in your house, or like, you know what I mean? Like, they're hitting avenues that we just didn't think you would need to hit. Like, I go barefoot around my house. Like, I don't need this. You know what I mean? And so for that reason, I'm totally down with it. From a reseller's perspective, I want to be a little cautious, but still.
Right. No, from a reseller's perspective, you definitely have to be cautious. But honestly, I thought that was a great conversation, because yeah, sure, maybe it's kind of like the Kobe, right? There's maybe no end to that debate, maybe, but and it's just so cool. Straight up, I love Nike.
Yeah. I just looked at the clock and realized we're going pretty far over what I wanted to, but it's the season finale. We're going to finish it because after this, you're not going to hear from us for a little bit. So we're just going to go through all the shoes. If the podcast ends up being a little longer and you guys got to leave, go ahead. But I want to keep touching on these shoes because they're a lot crazy ones. The other sleeper that we have lined up is an Adidas Superstar, designed by a superstar, none other than Sean Witherspoon. We had talked about the Sean Witherspoon Asics with Riley. Everybody knows the Sean Witherspoons, the Nike Sean Witherspoons. That's just notorious for being what it is. And before we even talk about what it looks like, I just love how Sean, Mr. Witherspoon, is not signing with anybody. He's not signing a deal with anybody. At least maybe he's testing the waters, but he's still releasing shoes with every company. Like, you have every other like collab that you can think of, right? Like, they have a deal. Like, Travis Scott has a deal with Jordan. He's released the ones, the one highs, the one lows, the fours, the Air Forces. I mean, it's not Jordan, but it's still Nike, right? Pharrell Williams with Adidas. He's always with Adidas. Kanye was with Nike, but then he switched over to Adidas. But the point is, he still has a deal. Sean is literally doing one shoe with one brand, another shoe with another brand, another shoe with another brand. I am not going to be surprised if we see like some Under Armour hover ones designed by Sean Witherspoon. You know what I mean? On a different note, I think these are crazy. They're basically like flowers embroidered, and they're kind of like growing from the sole, and the stem is like loose threads that hang off of the shoe. Another just cool idea that Sean is coming up with. I mean, we've seen loose threads before, but this is just a whole different take. And one thing that I do like is that the Trefoil Adidas logo is built into the flowers. Like, some of the flowers are that Trefoil logo. and I like the creativity behind that. They're called the Super Earths, which I haven't read the story on them, but I'm assuming there's some story with, sustainability or something. I could be completely wrong, but it's pretty. It's a pretty shoe.
So these shoes are something unlike anything I've ever seen before, to be honest. I really like them, and I just checked them out a couple hours ago. To be honest, I'm a really big fan of shoes and clothes that kind of make your outfit pop, and there is no doubt that these shoes will do exactly that.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, and I mean, these shoes, I've never had a pair of Superstars. I'm guessing they're just a great everyday pair of
Yeah.
shoes. So I think that these would be a great pair of shoes to own. There's a lot of artwork that went into this, and I think that really says a lot about Sean and what he can do as an artist. He's not just someone who I guess Adidas could slap their name on a shoe to, I guess, sell those shoes. It really looks like he collaborated with them well and put a lot of detail into the shoe because he wanted to leave his mark on it, kind of like he has with other shoes in the past. I remember I first found out about him when the 97s dropped. I thought they were an awesome shoe. Haven't ever really had a chance to get my hands on them, but I've seen them in person and I've seen him. I believe he's dropped a couple other shoes since then. And I mean, I just think this is a huge uh, statement, if it's not already made, that um, how big he is as a person, as well as like his idea around making shoes, how grateful it could be to collaborate. Like if a shoe company wants to collaborate with him, I think that this is one of the key shoes that they should look at in deciding, oh, we should collab with him because this is a stellar piece, whether you want to wear it or collect it. And I think it's a great shoe that Adidas is dropping pretty soon.
I like the point that you bring up about like him being a designer and not being able to just slap his name on any brand. Because not to smack on any like Travis's shoes, for example, but not too many people were a huge fan of those 270s.
Yeah,
And that's just an example of like Travis has made some really dope shoes. And even if you're not a fan of the 270s, they still resold for a good amount of money. The superstars are like not a popular model, but we're not just slapping Sean's name on. Like he is putting a lot of time and effort into this. I don't want to say Travis didn't, but Sean has not come up with a bad design yet, in my opinion.
yeah, I feel that 100%. With Travis Scott, to be honest, I feel like it's a little bit of both. I feel like Nike is kind of using his name to a degree
Yeah.
because they know it will sell, and resellers know that it will sell, so they're obviously going to try and go for it. There's a huge amount of Travis Scott fans. They're going to try and go for it. So, I mean, everyone's going to try and go for it at the end of the day. But I also feel like there is some creativity that like Travis has a say in. I remember with it's like the Nike SB Travis Scott collabs. It wasn't the low brown ones, but it was the other one. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but the design on it is pretty insane to me, and I know the resale on it is insane. It's like 1,200, 1,300, but it's really design is a big thing sometimes with me when it comes to buying shoes because like your shoe it really says a lot about yourself and I mean owning a pair of those shoes would say a lot to me without me even knowing you at the end of the day.
Mm. Yeah, I would say Sean's name does add to the aftermarket value, but it's not the same extent as some of our other designers in our culture. In terms of pricing on these, they retail for I think 110. The bids seem to be around mid 200s, high 200s, and the asks seem to be across the table high 200s to low 300s. So a pretty safe bet if you're able to get your hands on these. Probably won't be a wide release, just like the other two Sean's are. Although I feel like this one might be more available than the A6 ones. But definitely good buy if you are able to get your hands on these. I haven't seen any first come first serve retailers. It's a lot of raffles going on. Another one coming out soon. I believe it's on Saturday, maybe Thursday. No, it's definitely Saturday. The Jordan 3 Retro Fire Red. They're called denims, and I'm having trouble figuring out where the denim is. It might be on the little heel and the toe, but it's kind of hard to tell from pictures. It's basically like a white cement mixed with a Hall of Fame Jordan 3. But there's some cool little detailing. Like the back tab is translucent. The Nike Air on the back is backwards. The color blocking is a little different than any other Jordan Red. It's not, or Jordan 3. It's not like an old colorway that they just changed the materials. But they are calling it denim, and honestly, I don't know where the denim is.
I think from like a person who's just a general fan of sneakers and wants to get these as personals, this would be a great cop. But from a reseller's perspective, I wouldn't go for this. I don't really see it going up over time. I could be wrong because I'm not an expert by any means, but judging by what the market is already at and it hasn't even dropped, I just can't really even. Like I said, it's a great personal shoe, but that'd be about it. I could see myself getting a pair of these as a personal shoe, but from a reselling perspective or a investment perspective, no, I'd have to pass. On GOAT, these are going in my size are going about for $250 right now. I can see that going down after the drop, even just because obviously there's gonna be people who are lowballing and undercutting.
Yeah.
So
I don't know why the prices are so low on these. They're retailing for 200. The after or the pre-market prices are sitting pretty much around 220s, 230s. So really no room for profit. A little bit of lunch money if you're able to sell before the prices tank and before the shoe comes into the mail for most of the people. I would say this is a really easy shoe to sell to a consumer just because it's pretty basic. It's just a white base with black and
yeah,
red accents.
if you can find someone like local or around you who would be interested in these,
Yeah.
I saw a guy who was taking pre-orders for around 260 on these, and I think that would be like if you can find the clientele for that, that's a solid thing to do. But you got to be able to get the shoe as well.
Yeah, I think this is more of like a pre-order shoe. If you have like a buyer lined up already, it's like a safer bet. You can still make some money, but you don't have to, there's no risk. Whereas like you're risking
Yeah.
a lot for $10 profit. It's definitely profitable. It's just going to be a little riskier in terms of how much money you're putting down initially.
Right. Yeah. Honestly, I agree. I probably wouldn't resell these. I mean, I don't think they're gonna go that much higher. But in terms of how it looks, I mean, it's a pretty clean shoe. I like it. You can wear it with whatever you want. I think it matches a bunch of good outfits that you can, flex and wear on a day. But as long as you feel good in it, that's what matters.
Yeah, it's definitely a clean Air Jordan 3, and it's got the red accents. And other than that, there's really no other colors that are like it's pretty neutral other than the red. So I mean, you can't go wrong, especially when it's like red or blue. There's so much you can wear those two colors with. Hard to go wrong for a personal. Let's talk about this one next. The Air Max 1 Anniversary Green. I saw these rumored with the orange pair, and I feel like Brandon would love the orange pair. I don't know when the orange ones are coming out, but the green ones are coming out this weekend as well. Oh, is it this weekend? Well, I think these released like overseas already, but now they're coming to the US this weekend. I am a huge fan of the Air Max ones. I have the red ones, like the original, not the original ones, but like the restock, the 2017 anniversary edition. I love what like the materials on them are so nice, and you can just tell that they're gonna use the same materials. They're not gonna do like weird materials like with other GR Air Maxes. It's a very clean, like suede, nubuck heavy, like I don't even like it's like super smooth suede. I don't really know. I think it is nubuck. I'm not really sure about the materials, but I think the green, it's like a forest green. I think it looks sick.
I think that this is like a really fire shoe, but the colorway, to me, I couldn't buy it from a personal perspective.
I know a lot of people don't like green.
It's a weird green.
Alex was on our last episode. He was not a fan of green on shoes, but you think it's like not a good color green?
It's a odd green. I remember people were even talking about like how you just mentioned green on shoes. The Jordan 1 pine, I think it's pine green,
Yeah.
pine something. Some people weren't really feeling that colorway, and I know that like Jordan 1s are having a heck of a year from a resale perspective. But I remember green and purple were kind of lacking in terms of like how high they were doing in the market compared to other colorways that have dropped. And I don't want to say that a green colorway on a shoe is bad, but when we're talking about this shoe, it's just colorway really is a big thing on shoes to me, and I I feel like there's not going to be as many people buying it just because that green is kind of odd. The gray and white kind of make it pretty clean, as in like an everyday shoe, but the green just kind of kills my vibe on it.
Honestly, I think if I were a Boston Celtics fan, I'd probably cop him. But
Yeah.
me myself, I'm not a fan of the dark green. I don't think very many people are. Just like Nick said, I usually like the brighter greens. But Air Max ones are always clean. They're always solid. You can never go wrong with them. So yeah, honestly, if you want to wear them, go ahead.
In terms of resale prices, again, these retail for 140. Resale prices are the lowest, I think, is around 180, like low 180s, going up to 230, or more like 220. The thing is with these, obviously, all the shoes are usually drop after they release, like we always talk about. But I see these dropping more than usual only because I don't see a lot of demand for them, even though I really, really like them. I wouldn't, because the margin right now is already so great with the retail at 140 and prices around maybe 45 to $70 profit margin right now. I don't think it'll drop below retail, but I think it will drop more than a usual shoe around this price range, just because of what these guys just said. Like, a lot of people aren't a fan of green. An Air Max 1 is not an Air Force or a Jordan, but it's still a nice anniversary. It's still a nice anniversary colorway of the Air Max 1. I personally like it. I might try to get one pair, but this is not something that I would invest all my money in for that reason. I showed Brandon the orange version. You like the orange version a lot better.
Oh hell yeah, man!
It's not like a bright orange, but it's not a dark orange either. I do like the orange. I'm not a big fan of orange, but I do like the orange version.
The orange shoe really pops to me, and like the silver and, well, not really silver, but the white and gray on it
Yeah.
really goes well as like a great everyday shoe.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm a fan of the color orange, so I think that I'd prefer to go with the orange one over the green, but they're probably both very comfortable shoes. So
I have no word on when the orange one is dropping in the US. I just know that the green one already uploaded on sneakers, so I'm looking forward to that one. The last shoe that I want to talk about is no doubt for sure a profitable shoe. I'm not a fan of the model, but the colorway is really nice. This color, the shade of blue that I'm about to talk about, has become very popular, I've noticed. Like, whenever I have something in this colorway or a t-shirt in this colorway, a lot of people really like it. It's like not a teal, but it's like a cyan baby blue.
It's like ocean vibes.
yeah,
It's the Adidas Yeezy 700 V3 Arzareth. I don't know how to say it, but it's kind of crazy. This is like the third or fourth rendition of the 700 V3. And for some reason, they decided to make the V3s retail at 200 instead of 300, which I have no problem with, but I don't know why. And another thing is that they're reselling more than the V1s and the V2s. So the margin on the entire model as a whole is already greater. Plus, you're combining it with a great looking colorway. So we're going to have a big fight in the reseller community on selling these.
I think this is an absolutely fire shoe, and I'm not saying that just because I've seen other people say that. I think I mentioned this earlier. A colorway of a shoe really says a lot about you, as well as it really means a lot to, like, if I'm buying a shoe, I don't really. Sometimes I want something that's kind of plain, but I want something that pops. And when I saw this shoe for the first time, it was like an early release picture of it. I was like, "Ooh, that's fire!"
The
Like,
early release pictures looked fake. Like this still kind of looks like a
yeah, I know what
mock-up.
you're talking about. Yeah, but I just feel like Brandon said, the colorway kind of gives you like a ocean vibe, and when I think of that, it's kind of like a good vibe. It's like a really nice color. The shoe itself, it kind of looks like it's kind of an odd shoe, but I also feel like it's at the same time very comfy. So I may go for these as a personal pair, to be honest. Shoot, I may even mess around and buy for resale because I feel like it's a great shoe, and you know, people have their own opinions on it, but I know it's going to do well. Well, I don't know it, but I feel very, very likely that it's going to do well reselling wise, just because I saw a couple months ago how how people were talking about it. Like usually when there's a shoe that's like upcoming on Instagram, I'll check out the comment section to try and see what other people's takes are on it. I already know what mine is, so I want to see what other people's are to see if maybe I should go for it, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should go for personal, or if I'll even have a shot if I go for personal. And I saw a lot of people who really thought that it seemed like for a while, a lot of people were like, oh, Kanye is just releasing another pair of Yeezys in a different colorway. Oh, like it's just the same old shoe, yada, yada, yada. When early pictures of this started coming out, it almost felt like there were probably some people who still had that idea or mindset, but there were a lot of people who were thinking that this was a fire shoe, this was something new that they liked, and that, I don't know, Kanye was moving in the right direction with this shoe. So, by all means, I feel like this shoe is going to do well this Saturday.
Yes. Agreed.
Honestly, for me, I'm probably gonna have a hot take, but I'm just not really the biggest fan of Yeezys. I just don't think that they look that good. Oh, I'm gonna get a bunch of ridicule after saying that, right?
No, a lot of people agree with you. It's just that a lot of people it's kind of grown on a lot of people. But anyways, go ahead.
Okay. I honestly, I was never really a fan of them when they first came out, but whatever, it is what it is. I will say though, this colorway really does stand out. I think it's really unique. Um, and that's what's really going to make it go crazy, I think. And so, if you like it, that's awesome. Like, go ahead and wear it. But there's definitely a really good market for these. So, make sure to enjoy them.
Yep. They retail for about 200 and market prices are about double, if not more. I was looking at this, and ever since the V3 came out, I've been like questioning like how did they come up with that idea? Because I'm not like always a big fan of when they do like a version 1, a version 2, and they keep going through the series. I like it when they keep some aspects of the previous model and it looks like they updated it. I never really got that with these, but now that I'm staring at them, I kind of see it. So if anybody's like wondering this with me, if anybody's like still with us after so long, but I see is the outsole is completely identical to the V1 and the V2. The midsole is like a new take, and that's what we have updated. The upper has a cage on it. Behind the cage, I see the upper like with the waves of the V2 700, and the cage consists of like these oval kind of bubbly shapes, which is resemblant of both the V1 and the V2. So now I kind of see like a hybrid, and it's making more sense to me, and that's making me appreciate it more because I still don't really like them that much, but they look better to me because I can see how it resembles the previous two models, which is something that I enjoy. Again, this and like the materials, like the knit material of that upper is a blue, and I think the cage is like translucent, but it gives the cage like a blue tint, which looks really sick.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
100%.
I think that's all we have today, unless you guys want to say any last words?
No, honestly, it's been a fun time, fun season. I think the podcast really boosted a lot of, knowledge and awareness about your brand. And so thank you so much for the listeners. If you got to this point, we really appreciate you. And, we look forward to seeing you guys soon next time. But for now, make sure you guys grind in school, stay safe, and enjoy the next few drops that are coming out.
Yep.
I don't really have much to say, but if I have anything to say, keep checking out M&N. I really like what you guys are doing, and I appreciate you guys for having me on today.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us today.
Yes, we really appreciate you being on here. We always appreciate our guests, all of our listeners. And we say that, like, a lot of people on YouTube or, like, they make money off this. We don't make money off this. We started this just because we wanted to have, like, discussions and meet new people, and it's fun for us. If anything, we're losing money because we got to pay like, SoundCloud to host our audio tracks. But, I mean, it's still fun. We've gotten really good feedback on it, and I'm excited to kickstart season 2 in a couple weeks. Again, really appreciate Nick being here. Our other guests that have been on here in the past. Make sure to go give 765 Hype God a follow on Instagram. DM him your thoughts on what he said on today's podcast. DM us your thoughts on what we all said on today's podcast. We look forward to hearing from you. As always, submit some questions that you have that you want us to answer. And look forward to big things from both of us in the future. With that being said, it's your boy Mateo.
This is Brandon.
It's Nick.
And we will see you in the next season.